I never thought I was going to be able to have that Indian wedding and the red lehenga and the girl. And like, I'm just here. Here I am, like the Indian girl who did it. Like I married my girl in a red lehenga and I did it the way that I wanted to do it. And I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Made It Out. Today I'm here with Christina, Walia, and we are talking about coming out to her traditional Indian family and planning the wedding that she's always wanted. Christina, can you tell me a little bit about where you grew up and your family and your culture?
Yeah, of course. I grew up in Laredo, Texas, which is a border city to Mexico. My parents moved there after my older brother was born in India. So they moved across the world to Laredo for business opportunities. It's a little crazy. I had a unique upbringing because everybody in Laredo, 99.9% is Mexican. So there's probably, I would say, less than 20 Indian people there.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was that like?
So growing up in Laredo, it was a completely different experience than you can imagine. Not only was I different already, I didn't know the language. So English wasn't my first language. I had to learn English whenever I went to school. So I had to come home and teach my parents. And for my parents, it was even worse because they had to learn Spanish and English. So primarily in Laredo, they speak Spanish because it's right there on the border. So not only my parents fluent now in Spanish and English, they also know Hindi, they also know Punjabi. So I just had to kind of navigate my way through that. Like I wasn't allowed to shave. I wasn't allowed, like, not that I wasn't allowed to, but those are things that my parents didn't really teach me or my mom wasn't really comfortable with. She's really like an Indian woman. And my dad was really a man's man, like a strict Indian household. Like I didn't even go to prom. I didn't do any of that.
What's the reasoning for not going to prom?
I think that like in the Indian culture is just like a very strong belief in not dating until you're out of college. And it's not like a dating thing. It's not like, oh, hey mom, I'm gonna go on this date. I'm gonna go on this date. No, it's like the person that you date or the person that you're talking to is gonna be the person that you marry. And it's gonna have to be after college. It's gonna have to be after you get everything together. Or sometimes in some cases they'll pick for you. And luckily I didn't have those parents.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you didn't date at all in school?
So I did date. They just didn't know. Yeah. Honestly, it's crazy, but I only dated one person while I was in high school, and my parents knew her as my friend.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what were the conversations like at home about queer people?
I don't know. It's so crazy because it wasn't really talked about. It was something that was sort of like, I guess, a taboo in our culture. Like we didn't ever talk about that. In India, this is not something that is just like a normal thing. Like you can't just go outside and you'll see a couple there, or I don't even think it's legal for them right now.
Right.
But I knew it was something that they wouldn't accept because they also were really counting on me marrying like an Indian man and, you know, all of that. So
in India, it's for religious reasons or just cultural that?
I think it's both, honestly. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm a Hindu and I know and there's several different religions in India, but my household was Hindu. In our religion, they don't really speak about it too much, but I remember my father saying like, something along the lines of like, we're here, like our primary reason on this earth is to reproduce and stuff like of that. So it's not like he ever said anything negative, but like I said, he was a man's man. So like, yeah, it's like the man is a man, the woman is a woman.
Right.
Yeah.
What was it like having to hide it from them?
It was like a very difficult thing because, you know, Indian weddings, they're 5 days long. So we would go to a bunch of different Indian weddings, and I would just as like a little girl, like 15, 16, I would just see things like, oh man, like I'll never have this, you know, like I'll never be this like perfect Indian girl that they just, you know, that they want. And I'll never be in that red dress standing in front of my whole family and everybody's like celebrating us and stuff like that. It was difficult, but the only part that kind of made it easier was is that they never spoke to me about boys either, because it was something that like, okay, we don't we don't date anyways until, so they probably like, they just had no idea that I was a lesbian because they were not even touching that topic. Like we didn't have the sex talk, you know,
Right.
I didn't even know what a period was. I wasn't allowed to go to the, like that little sex education class that they show in school and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
So it was just something that we just didn't talk about at the house. So
Wow. So when did you finally decide to come out to your parents?
honestly, I didn't come out to my parents until I was 26 years old. So at this point, I go on a vacation with my brother. Okay. And my brother is 2 years older than me. He's like my safe space. He's my hype man.
Does he know?
Yeah, he knows.
Okay, he knows.
He 100% knows.
And how did he take it? What was that like coming out to him?
So I honestly came out to him in college.
Okay.
Yeah, because me and my brother were only 2 years apart, so we're pretty close. I came out to him at an Olive Garden, which is hilarious. He was in town. Yeah. So he lives here, but he was in town at the moment for business. And he was like, Christina, pick any restaurant that you want. You know, I got the business card. Like, we could go anywhere. And I'm from Laredo, so I'm like, Olive Garden, you know? Olive Garden sounds like bougie, you know? And that's the only place we had in Laredo, too. So we're eating, and I'm like, Bea. So Bea is like what you call your older brother. I was like, Bea, I just have to tell you something. And he's like, what? I'm like, the person I'm dating, it's a girl. And he's like, he looked at me and I was like, damn, like, is he about to go off on me? You know? And he looked at me and he was like, you just always want to copy me. You just always want to be with like me. It's like, I love the Lakers. You love the Lakers. I love to play video games. You love to play video games. I like girls. You like girls now. And then he's like, come on, Christina, why would you think I would care? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm happy that you told me. I'm sad that you didn't tell me earlier. And he's like, honestly, some of my friends in high school used to tell me, I think your sister's gay. And he's like, no, I don't think she's gay. She always says The Rock is cute and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's what he was basing it off of.
That's so cute. I love that response.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're on vacation with your brother.
Well, yeah, I'm on vacation with my brother and one of his friends.
Okay.
And his friend was like, I have Tinder. Like, you should download Tinder too. Let's see who can get more girls. And I was like, bruh. Be serious. Me versus you? Okay, fine. So I downloaded Tinder. I swiped. Obviously, I won, needless to say. So then I got to Houston. I was like, no, let me just see. So I get on it. The first few hours I get on it, I swipe right. I swipe on this girl. And she swipes right, and we're a perfect match. And I'm like, what's your favorite food to eat? This girl is going to say Indian food. And I'm like, are you just saying that because you think I'm pretty? Yeah, and then after that, we exchanged numbers. We both agreed, like, as soon as I texted, I was like, yeah, you can delete that app now. And then,
wow.
Yeah, so it was like one of those rare cases from Tinder that actually just worked out immediately. It was not like, oh, I've been trying for days or anything like that. So it was just like something that was like, honestly, God sent.
And this is the girl that made you come out to your parents.
100% this is a girl.
Okay, so tell me everything.
So in 2018, we were both still in school. So I was about to graduate in August, and they've met Christy, but as a friend. She came to Laredo with me, but like, hey, this is my friend Christy. And they're just like, oh, okay, cool. We love Christy. Like, they started talking to Christy. They just didn't know she was my girlfriend yet.
Oh my God, how hard is that? Like on the inside?
Yeah, it was so difficult. Fast forward to August, my graduation happens. My family comes into town. My parents, my extended family, my aunts and my uncles and all that. So, okay, there's another time. They meet Christy. They love Christy. You know, they're just like, okay, but this is my friend still. So after that, I was just like, man, I just feel this like guilt. Like I have to tell them because they're the only people that don't know. And like, my parents are so dear to my heart. They're so close to me. Like in our culture, like our parents are like our heartbeat. Like, I feel like a lot of people in my community in the brown community and the South Asian community would like agree is like your parents moved here from across the world at the age that I am now and to give me a better life. And they literally came from nothing. We weren't like the rich Indians. My mom worked at a warehouse. My dad worked at somebody's perfume store, and they just did so much for us that it was just like, man, I don't want to disappoint you. Like you are my everything. It wasn't like something that like, I feel like nowadays it's kind of like, hey, your parents don't accept you. Okay, fuck them. Like it wasn't like that for me. And it was never going to be like that in my culture. You know, like in the Indian community too, they're scared of like the judgment from my aunts and my uncles and the entire community in general, because that culture is kind of like, blah, blah, blah is a doctor, this person is a lawyer, this person is married to this person. And it's just such a gossipy community. Yeah. It was just something that I just didn't want it to be like, an embarrassing thing for them either.
Right.
And I understand why it would be embarrassing too. Like, you're from India. You didn't see this growing up. I wanted to come from a place of understanding, like, why you don't accept me, and let's work on it. Let's grow, because what's not going to happen is that we're not going to have a relationship.
Right.
We have to work on this. So I waited till I was 26. So my actual coming out date, it was October 23rd, 2018.
Wow.
I remember the day, and I was like, my brother called me and he was like, oh, like randomly, he was like, I'm going to be in Laredo. And I was just like, bro, this is my chance right now. Like,
oh man,
my brother is going to be there. I don't want to come out without my brother being there, because he's my safe space. Like, I know that he can talk to my parents in a different way that I can talk to them. And I was like, oh, you're going to Laredo? Bet. I'm coming, So I get in the car, drive 6 hours down to Laredo same day. And he's like, Christina, you could have given me a heads up. And I was like, it is what it is. It's now or never, Because he was getting married in February and I wanted her to come with me.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, it's now or it's never. And he's like, Christina, you could have given me a heads up. I was like, just chill. Come on. Let's just do this. And he's like, all right. He's like, okay. So we're sitting in the living room, right? I'm like, Dad, I have to tell you something. And like, this was kind of like, it was just like that moment, like my stomach, this is something that I've been holding in for over 10 years. Like, I'm not going to marry a boy. Like, I'm not going to marry a guy. And my mom's like, what do you mean you're not going to marry a guy? And my dad's like, what do you mean? Like, what are you trying to say right now? And it was just like a back and forth conversation. I was like, I just don't find men attractive. I don't want to live that life. Like, I'm going to marry a girl. And my mom is just like so innocent because she doesn't know anything about this. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, and it's crazy because I expected like my dad to be the one that was like tripping more than my mom, because he's like such a man's man. And my mom is like such a sweetheart. And my dad, he was tripping for a little bit. And I was just like, Dad, like, listen, the whole world is going to be against me. I don't want my family to be against me. And I'm like bawling, tearing and crying. And my dad just like, I just feel like he couldn't help but like look in my eyes and be like, okay, like, you're right. And my mom started saying, like, are you sure? Like this and that. And my dad was like, no, stop. Just listen to her. Like, I don't know. And then my mom was just like, I don't understand, Christina. Like, on your birth certificate, it says you're a girl. And I was like, Mom, I'm still a woman. I'm a girl. Right. But I want to marry a girl. Like, that is something that happens. Like, she just like, this just blew her mind.
Right.
Like, yeah, she just like didn't expect this at all. And it's crazy because like, I just kind of thought that she kind of might have had an idea, but she didn't. And my dad was like, you know what? He's like, Christina, like, you are going to face a lot of things in this world. And for me, I'm just proud that I have like a strong, confident daughter that actually has the courage to tell me this. Aww. Because you're telling somebody who probably would have never accepted this before. He's like, so I'm proud that I have like a very strong daughter and I'm going to have your back throughout this. Aww. So they did such a good job in understanding the situation. And if they did have a problem with it, they never let me see it. And I just respect them so much for that, because this Indian culture is not a game. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to be very headstrong to go through something like this. And, Christy, that's my girlfriend. Like, wow. Actually, yeah, when I was coming out, I told them, like, Christy, like, that's actually my girlfriend. And it's like weird because it kind of gave them like a peace of mind, because I feel like they just didn't have no idea of who,
right,
who it was going to be, and after I told them that, they already had a relationship with her. They already loved her. So it was kind of like an easy thing. And I was just like, yeah, my brother's wedding's coming up. I'm going to bring her. Like, so before the wedding, there's like this whole thing that you have to do. So they did a lot of the ceremonies and stuff like that pre-wedding.
Okay.
Yeah. And at first they were not too happy about the idea. They just didn't know how it was going to be bringing her to this wedding, because it wasn't like my aunts and my uncles. It was like my aunts and my uncles and my cousins and my second cousins from Germany and Canada and India. It was like
Everybody.
a huge Indian wedding. Yeah. They just didn't know how to act. And what really felt amazing was when we went dress shopping and my mom was like, Christy, you have to get your dresses. And my mom bought Christy several dresses for the wedding. And she's like, no, beta, like you need to wear it like this. You need to get the necklaces. And she like was dressing her up. And I was like, oh my God, like I never thought I was going to see this in my life.
How beautiful is that?
Yeah. It was just such a beautiful thing.
Wow.
Yeah. And we get to the wedding. And my cousins are there. My cousins all kind of had an idea that I was gay. Like they're younger too. They're probably, well, they're not that young, but I was the youngest. I was the firstborn in America. So I was just like, they were still from India, but they were Americanized because they lived here.
Right.
And
you're the only gay one in the family.
Only gay one that I know
That
of.
we know of.
That we know of. No, 100% I'm the only gay one. Yeah, for sure. And she came with me to this wedding. I introduced her like, this is Chrissy. Like, I wasn't like, this is my girlfriend. Like,
right.
They knew though. They knew, they had an idea. And it's just like, because it's a 5 to 7 day thing. Like, well, the cousins come before and we all like, we party for like almost 7 days straight.
Wow.
So every night it was just like bringing Chrissy more into the family, partying with Chrissy more. And it was just like a beautiful thing because my cousins and all that were just like, hey, this girl's pretty cool,
Yeah. They like got to know her for her.
Yeah.
And love her for that.
Yeah.
Was there an expectation that you would still marry an Indian person?
It was crazy because like growing up, like I 100%, since everybody around me was only Hispanic, my dad and my mom would always tell me like, just remember you're very different from everybody here. You're going to marry somebody that is Indian, it's definitely going to come from an Indian family. And when I came out to them and when it was about women, it's like crazy because I feel like they really, really didn't care. They didn't have that talk about like, she has to be this and she has to do this or anything like that. It was just kind of like and I truly don't know if it was because they met Christy before and they knew that she was like half Filipino and half Pakistani, and being Pakistani is like almost the same thing as being Indian. So it's like, it's almost the same thing. And like, yeah, it's just crazy because it wasn't brought up. It was not a thing that they were just like, she has to be an Indian girl. My brother married an Indian girl. Everybody in my family married somebody who's Indian.
Wow.
And I kind of just like, was like, yeah, I'm first generation, firstborn in America. My girl is not Indian and I'm a lesbian. And I'm born in a city where it's just like 100% Hispanics. That's why I speak like this, in case you're wondering why I don't sound like the typical Indian. Yeah, so it was just like...
That's badass.
Yeah.
You're just your own person.
Yeah.
I love it.
And like growing up, my battle wasn't just being a lesbian. My battle was already like, you're Indian. Yeah, you're Indian in the school. You're the only Indian here. And then like 9/11 happens and now people are calling you Osama. And even though it's a completely different, it was just like, it built me to be strong enough to be able to, tell my parents, because like till this day, I feel like in our community, I get hundreds and hundreds of messages from Pakistani women, Indian women messaging me and saying like, hey, can you give me some advice on coming out to my parents? Like, how did you navigate through that situation? Like, how were you able to like tell them and make them understand, And it's just like, I love being that person because there's no representation at all in our community. Honestly, there's like absolutely no representation in the brown community. And I just like, I hate that it's like this thing that is so different, but I also love that there's so many different people now that people would not even expect to be lesbian. And yeah, it's just like, it's amazing that there's like barriers that are being broken right now in the Indian South Asian community. And like, people are okay. Like, they're like, I see somebody in a traditional Indian lenga getting married. I want to be that. I want to do that. And I know now it's possible because this girl did it. And I didn't have anybody like that growing up to look at. So it was just like just millions of barriers that like I felt like I had to break. And I'm in Texas. And even though Houston is huge, it's still like people still don't look at you like, you know, it's a normal thing. They still stare at you. And it's crazy because me and my wife could be walking in the mall and stuff. And it's just like, I just forget that we're lesbians, you know? It's just like such a normal thing to me. I'm just like, I don't even see anything different, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Even like Matilda and I will go back to Texas to visit my parents.
Yeah.
And the minute that we land, I'm like reminded like, oh yeah, Texas is different.
A bunch
It
of
is not the
stairs.
same. Yeah. We're like getting off the plane and I'm just acting like I normally do with her.
You're right.
And it's like eyeballs everywhere. And I'm just like very aware of them, I think, because I'm like put back into what I grew up around.
Yeah.
So it's just, it hasn't gone away.
Right. Like you forget. And when you get out of your house, you like forget and then you're immediately reminded like, oh shit, we're in Houston and this is a big city and there are a lot of lesbians here, but let's not get it twisted. It's still not this thing where like here in
not
LA.
LA.
Yeah, it's not LA.
Okay, so I know you guys are married now. I want to know the details. First of all, Matilda and I have had to have this conversation about who is going to propose first or like who will propose. Are we both going to propose? So
Right.
did you guys have to have that conversation
We
too?
definitely had this conversation
Okay.
because this girl, my wife, always wanted to propose to me. And I was like, listen, no. You can have everything else, but this is my thing because I want to be the one who like plans it, and I want to be the one who gets on the knee and asks you to be my wife and stuff like that. I don't want you to do it. So it was definitely going to be me.
Okay.
I knew that I wanted to marry her, and I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to propose to her. Let's go ring shopping. I go into this one jewelry shop, and it's just like this very high-end jewelry shop, and like I'm like, hey, like I want to propose. I'm looking for a ring. And then she's like, okay, like I'm confused. Like, is this ring for you? Or is this for her? Like, who's going to propose to who? And I was like, no, this is going to be for her, you know? And she was just like, yeah, I don't think we do that here. And I was just like in complete shock of like, her reaction to it because I'm like, hello, I'm here looking to spend a lot of money on this ring and you're still going to treat me this way just because what? Because I'm proposing to a girl. So I was just like, I left there disappointed, you know?
Yeah.
I left there pissed. And I was like, wait till I tell my girl about this because she is not going to let this shit slide. Like my girl is like somebody who's like, what did you say? You know, like,
Oh man.
yeah. So we go back to the jewelry store and I go back to the same girl and I'm like, and she's like, oh, hey, thanks for coming back. And Chrissy's like, yeah, we're looking for a ring for me this size. And I swear automatically this girl changed her whole mood, her whole attitude towards it. And I was just like, it was just like something I was like, I'm just going back here to show you that like, we don't care about your opinion, but I'm not going to be buying anything from you. I'm not going to give you your commission, but my girl let her have it.
Wow.
I'll tell you that. Yeah.
Like what fucking year are you in?
Yeah, it was like, this was 2022.
Yeah,
Like,
this is bizarre.
yeah, it was crazy. And it was a really well-known high-end store. So it's just like something that was shocking. And like, I could have brought it up to the managers and let it be a thing. But like, I didn't want to give you guys my
got your
business.
point across. That girl probably went home
Yeah.
tail tucked.
Yeah, because my girl let her know, like, my girl let her know, like, after all, she's from Houston, you know, those girls don't play. Yeah, so.
Wow. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry that happened to you. So
Yeah.
then where did you end up? You went somewhere else. You got the ring.
Yeah, so I went to this amazing jewelry shop called Deutsch and Deutsch, and oh my God, like the second I got in there, I was like, hey, I'm gonna get married to a girl. I need a ring. And this was like an older lady, and I was just like, oh, maybe she's gonna feel something. No, absolutely not. She's like, okay, let's start from this. Like, first, tell me about your story. How old is she? And it was just like this amazing experience that I had that was just like, I'm so happy that happened because this made me appreciate you and like, you know, and so I built this amazing ring. And yeah, so for the proposal, I knew that I wanted to propose to her out of the country somewhere. And I already had this huge thing planned for my 30th birthday, and we were going to Greece and Italy, and I knew I wanted to get engaged to her in Santorini. So I told her like, hey, I want to do like a photo shoot for my birthday. And she's like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, yeah, let's do some, like, let's both like wear white so it could like really like pop in the blue, and like it just will look beautiful. And she's like, okay, like she had absolutely no idea.
I was just going to ask.
Yeah, she had no idea. So my brother, she was like, oh, your brother and your sister-in-law are here, but just for your 30th. Like, it was just like, she had no idea. Yeah, and so my brother knew because I told him before, of course. And like the night before, we like go on this, we like have this dinner, and I'm like, we're having a photo shoot. Like, don't eat too much. Like, you know, you want to look too good. Don't like drink too much. I don't want our face to get swollen. Like, and she's like, yeah, you're right. So like the day comes, you know, we meet our videographer, and he like points us to the area that we're supposed to be in. And she's just like looking out into the water. And I'm just like, yeah, just like look over there, and I'll just like hold you from behind. And then I look at my videographer because I'm so nervous.
Of course.
Like, I'm like, bro, we're like on this ledge in Santorini. My hands are shaking. I'm going to drop this ring. Yeah. Like, I was like, okay. And he's like, go do it. And I was like, okay. So then I like get on my knee, and I'm like, Christy, turn around. And this girl's like, la, 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 just still looking. She's like, babe, no, look how beautiful it is. I was like, Chrissy, turn around. And then she turns around, and she's like, oh my God. Aww. Like, she had no idea. It was just like, I 100% forgot everything that I said at that moment. I forgot everything that I rehearsed. Yeah, blacked out. And, you know, I asked her to be if she will be my wife. And I told her, like, there's no better way to end my 20s with a bang than for you to know that I want to marry you and be with you for the rest of my life.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and of course.
I'm going to cry. I love a proposal. I cry at every proposal.
She's looking at her girl like, I love a proposal.
Looking back at Matilda. I love a proposal.
Yeah, so it was just like such a beautiful straight out of a movie moment.
Oh, yeah. I love it. Okay, so then did we start wedding planning right after? Were your family like so supportive, so excited?
Yeah, as soon as we get home back to Houston and we go see my parents, they had like a little ceremony for us that they do, yeah, when you first get engaged. And in our culture, you give like the bride to be like a gold set, you know, like. And my mom, like, I didn't know what to expect, you know, because like, yeah, they were cool with it. They love Chrissy to death, but it was just like, oh shit, like this is getting real. So I didn't know what their reaction was going to be, you know? And so my mom gave her this gold set. They had like this little, it's called like a puja, you know, like it's before we step in, like through little flowers and stuff like that. And she gave her this, and I was just like, oh my God, like I did not expect this at all.
Wow.
So that like immediately calmed me down, you know? And then I remember my brother calling me and saying like, hey, mom called me and told me that you're getting married. And she was like, hey, wait, they could get married here? And he's like, yes, mom. So like, it was just like this moment where it's just like, I was kind of nerve wracking at first, but it was just like amazing that they were kind of how receptive they were to the whole situation. So when we started wedding planning, I told her like, yeah, I definitely want a wedding. And she's like, okay, how's this going to go? You know, like, what are we going to do? She definitely wanted us to have a wedding. And my dad was excited about the wedding. He just didn't know how to go about like telling his family, like, yeah, you know, she's gay, but like now she's having a wedding, and you know, it's a 5-day thing. Like, it's like, you have to do these prayers. You have to go to the temple. You're going to have to like travel. And it's not just like a ceremony, like a 1-day thing, you know? So it's a big deal. And he was kind of like on the fence about it, like a little bit like, I just don't know how you're going to do it. Like, I don't know how you're going to do it. And like when we were going through our planning process, we just kind of like, we're like, man, I don't know. Like, I want to do it in Italy. You want to do it in Italy. Getting hundreds of people across the world to go to Italy is going to be a hassle. And I'm already stressed making this list. And she was like, babe, fuck it. Let's get eloped. And I was like, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. That easy. And we made that decision right then and there, because we knew from the second, like, we still wanted to do the traditional thing. Like, we wanted to wear the Indian lenga. We wanted to, you know, we wanted to do the mendi, and we wanted to do like we wanted to do the puja, which is like the prayer with my parents and stuff like that, which we did do before we left and when we got back, which is a beautiful thing. And when I did tell my parents that we wanted to get eloped, they were like, it's like weird because I kind of did feel like they were just kind of like relieved a little bit, but my mom was kind of like, I really want you to have a party. Like, you know, I really want you to do this. So like, it was just kind of like a thing where we just had to make that decision for ourselves. So that's what we did. We went and we got eloped in Lake Como, Italy, the most beautiful thing in the world. We got ready together. We picked out our dresses together. Wow. We like did it in the most intimate way. It was just not like, we were not doing anything in any traditional sense. Cause I was like, this is my best friend. This is my girl. Like we're going to do it the way we want to do it. Cause everything else is honestly stressing me out. And why would we put that stress on us? Cause this is about us. Yeah. This is not about the hundreds of other people or the people like you getting sad because like you're not that close with your family, or like me getting sad of like whatever Indian family that is not as accepting, you know?
Right.
I just didn't want to deal with that. Like it was about me and her. And so we did it our way. And it was the best decision we've ever made. And we wouldn't have changed it for the world. So.
I love that. Yeah. I love it. So tell me about where you're at today.
Oh my gosh. We are the happiest we've ever been. I feel like it's like the honeymoon phase started from the day that I met her, and it still hasn't ended 7 years later. Aww. So I just feel stronger than ever. Like I loved her more than I did yesterday. Like our relationship is so strong now that I just like feel so blessed to be able to find this girl. Like I never thought I was going to be able to have that Indian wedding and the red lenga and the girl, and like I'm just here I am, like the Indian girl who did it. Like I married my girl in a red lenga and I did it the way that I wanted to do it, and I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. And with my family, Chrissy has a great relationship with my family. She's a daughter that my mom always wanted, and she's a daughter that my dad always wanted to like, yeah. My wife lost her father when she was younger. Mm-hmm. So like my dad is somebody who she just like truly admires, and they talk for hours. Like when me and my parents, they call me every day, but they will call my wife first and talk to her for hours.
I love that.
Yeah. Cause they know like she's a cooler one. She's a calm one. And even my brother and all that, everybody loves her. So like my family is in love with Christy just as much as I am. And like, I just feel so blessed to be able to have that.
I love that. That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing your story.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I have one more question.
Of course.
What are you working on in therapy?
What I'm working on myself every day is just being the best wife I can be, being the best partner I can be, being the best daughter I can be. And my brother just recently had a kid. So being an auntie now. Aww. Yeah. And just, you know, being my best version and being able to give the best version of myself to everybody around me, and hustling, grinding, being my best self. So.
I love that. Okay, we play a game.
Okay.
It's called You Haul or You Ghost.
Okay.
There's no in between. And she's perfect in every way except for maybe this one little quirk.
Okay.
Okay. She drives a Cybertruck.
U-Haul.
U-Haul?
Honestly, I'm one of those people who really fucks with a Cybertruck. She's moving militant. It's nice. It's a nice truck.
I saw a matte green one the other day and I was like,
I see what they did there. Yeah. It's kind of sexy.
Yeah?
I got a girl on people.
But. All right. What about, okay, this one actually, a listener sent this in. And I always think it's funny when that happens because it means like this was a personal experience. Like this cuts deep to this person. She cuts her steak with scissors and not a knife.
Oh, you ghost.
Really?
What do you mean?
I'm so like it's practical. Like it's easier.
I mean, it is easier, but what do you mean? You're at a restaurant. You're not going to deal with a knife. You're going to be like, hey, can I please get some scissors?
Do you happen to have a scissor?
That's not the type of scissoring we do. That's not. Definitely you guys.
Okay, I don't mind that one so much. Okay, what about she has like everything in her purse? Jumper cables, first aid kit, makeup, hair tools, actual tools.
Oh, U-Haul. I love a prepared woman. I'll never be in a bind. So that's a definitely U-Haul.
I think this would drive me nuts. Like digging through your fucking purse and you have all this shit that you have to get through to get to your credit card at the bottom of your tools.
Keep the card on top, but yeah. Okay. Definitely.
All right. I guess it would come in handy. Okay. She still does the peace sign in photos.
Nah, you go. He goes.
Were you thinking if you had done it or
I was like, oh my God, I feel like I did that the other day, but it was like it was like a cool thing, you know. It wasn't like, because people on Instagram right now are kind of doing like the little influencers. Some of them are doing it again.
Oh, it's coming back.
I feel like it's coming back.
Oh my God. That means we're old. We've lived that long where the peace sign is back.
Yeah. I was born in 92. So when I first started
out. Thank you so much for being here today. Can you let people know where they can find you?
Of course, you can find us on our TikTok, Christina X Christy, and you can find me on my Instagram, CXWALIA, CX Walia.
Check them out. They have the cutest couples videos. I love your TikTok.
Oh, thank you so much.
And cheers. What are we cheersing to today?
Let's cheers to being in the South Asian community and breaking barriers for me and many others.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you guys for listening to another week of Made It Out. Let us know what you thought about the episode in the comments, and find our guest at CX Walia. Find our show at Made It Out Podcast. Find me at Mal Glowinky. Today's episode was produced by Matilde Jordan and worked on solely by lesbians.
Passenger princess, there's one in every couple. Never drive again.